And Randall Bailey. Is this thing on? Oh, it is. Sorry. Dumb question. Hi.
Hi guys, thank you so much for being here, first of all, to help us launch our baby. This is something that Randall and I have been working on for like the last 10 months.
Yeah.
And to see it come to life in this way is honestly very surreal. But everything we do and everything that we're doing is for you guys, and it's for the community. And so we are very excited to publicly announce what Ethos is all about, our mission, our goals, and it's going to be ever-changing and evolving. If you asked us what we wanted to do in February, we thought we were going to be like some kind of influencers. We were going to make cool TikTok videos. And yeah, it took us 4 hours to make one TikTok
video. We watched a
video.
lot of tutorials, and we were like, we just can't get this. We gotta pivot.
It was a hard pivot. So we'll continue to pivot, but it's always going to be in the spirit of what's best for the community. So before we jump in, we're going to share our intro video that kind of gives an overall highlight. Ethos Beauty is a unique resource that bridges the gap between vendors and retailers. Our mission is to educate and to create opportunities for minority-owned and women-led brands. We will serve as an incubator for those who are looking for expansion through retail or as consulting partners to help develop growth strategies for new businesses.
Shantae and I have over 15 years of combined corporate experience as retail buyers. We have worked with hundreds of brands and are passionate about the creative process of ensuring that products are retail ready and saleable. We are excited to bring our expertise and resources to the minority community, which is underrepresented in the retail space.
What is ethos? An ethos is the characteristic spirit of a culture, era, or community.
We will always celebrate authenticity while empowering trendsetters and creators who are pushing the beauty space to mirror the world around us.
Thanks, guys. So I'll kick off how we came to be. So Shantae and I have a combined 15 years or more, actually, of retail experience. And we both were buying beauty for a number of years, and we had 75 to 100 vendors in our portfolio. We would meet a lot of amazing brands that had, product they made in their kitchen, or they do it on the weekends and on the side. But the packaging wasn't there, and the process wasn't there. And we're like, we'd love to help you. We have a lot of great insight, but we have 75 vendors to manage. We've got to keep running and growing our business. And so when we all kind of slowed down in 2020, we thought, how can we really make a change and help people with the expertise that we have? And so that's how Ethos came to be. We wanted to make sure that we could help everyone that looked like us and some that don't.
So we will, with that mission in mind, continue to create platforms and create space for vendors to either share their product or what they're working on with retailers, but also for retailers to come and find new brands and find emerging brands. I think with the explosion of 2020 and diversity and inclusivity being so important, amazing things happened. The 15% pledge happened, and everyone just became more aware, and that's great. But now, like having been buyers on the other side of the table, we want to make sure that there's a vendor base that's ready to step up and really fill in the gap where, the rest of the world around us has finally opened their eyes to see. So we will continue to have networking events. We are introducing the Discovery Beauty Experience coming in 2022.
Yes.
So we want that to be more of a trade show platform. Again, a space where you can come, showcase your brands, showcase your product. Buyers, you can come learn, explore, and really get tapped in on who's next of the emerging brands. So that's our vision.
That's our vision, soon to come. That was kind of where this all came from, and of course, we had to pivot due to the climate, but really we would go to so many trade shows like Expo West and Cosmoprof, and it's like, you're there with thousands of people and you come away with 100 business cards and you're like, I don't remember anybody or what their product was, and now I have this huge recap to do. So we want to have more space where you can have more intimate networking and really talk to people and learn, like, why do I need this product in the store, and what is the full spectrum of what you offer. So more conversation, more discovery, and that's what we're all about. So we'll do a lot of mini events and we'll do some big ones, and it's just going to be a great learning for everybody.
Yes. So today we encourage everyone to meet a friend. We said if you could leave here knowing 3 more people than you came in knowing, that's a success. To help you out, we've put some cue cards on the table that have just like some conversational questions just to help you break the ice. There's product around before you guys leave. Make sure you grab a goodie bag, and again, it's just some emerging brands in there. Women just like us who are trying to get their businesses off the ground. So, indulge. And you'll also see their products on the tables around as well. And then, of course, we're going to have our panel discussion where we have some of our network coming up to speak about their experience or about what their companies are doing, and again, just kind of create an educational platform.
Absolutely. So it's very organic. Feel free to ask questions or raise your hand. We're all here to have fun. And shameless plug, I want to give a shout out to Soho House for having us. Soho Works. They did a great job, and so you'll find in all of the gift bags there's a little card with a QR code. If you just want to follow up with them, they'll give you a tour of the property, and they'll also open to setting up like a free trial for you to try. So that's in there for you guys as well.
Another shameless plug. We offer free 15-minute consultations for anyone who wants to become a client of Ethos Beauty.
Let's kick it off.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it up for our amazing founders. Okay, before we get started with the official panel, let's sit down with just a couple questions.
Okay.
With you, Shantae and Randall.
Oh boy.
For some of our,
Don't grill us.
oh yeah, you're in the hot seat for sure. For some of our new and emerging brands. So, okay, we've learned about your mission and your why, and how you want to connect these brands with retailers, make them more sellable and on a larger platform. For a new brand who is starting from the very beginning, like very, very beginning, what are some of the first steps that you would ask them to take to embark on their retail journey?
You want me to do it? I can do it. You got it.
So the very first step, we think, is identifying your community, identifying your voice, your mission. Every retailer is not for everybody, and so I think you really, as a brand, have to understand what your identity is. And then as you start to develop your brand and you start to look for retail partners, it'll be organic and clear, like who the proper alignments are. Everything is not for everyone. So just really knowing, like, where's your customer shopping? Like, where is she looking? Where is she spending her time? What blogs is she reading? Those are things that you want to think about as you create a retail strategy.
Absolutely. So being strategic on that.
100%.
I would also add to that being strategic, but also knowing like what your intent is, because as we've found, we have to pivot a lot, but make sure that we keep what is at the center of Ethos as we move forward. So I think just knowing who you are and where you want your brand to go, so that as you pivot, you still keep that always top of mind.
So a brand has successfully, like, they've identified their why and their customer and where they're shopping. They have now contacted a retailer, and now they have to sit in front of a buyer and pitch themselves. Once they've like cold emailed and done the calling and all of that, what are some things that we think can empower the emerging brands, like, during that conversation?
I think market research, because we're buyers, so we're looking at product all the time. I think knowing your place and what you think the value of your product is really helpful, and also being able to articulate your vision and your goal and who that clientele is, and making sure it aligns with the retailer. Doing that research, I feel like, lets them know, like, okay, you are really serious, and then making sure that your packaging is where it needs to be, and that you do have your supply chain in a good place. So it's like, if you did get a PO, you could actually supply the order.
And this is where Ethos comes into play, because you all can help them do that.
We can do all those things.
I would also add just being confident. It's intimidating. I can only imagine what it's like to be a vendor and sitting on the other side of the table with someone who, has the ability to change your business or change your life, and you can just be so nervous. It's just, it's intimidating, but be confident. Like, the retailers, you know, they need the brands as well. And so it's a partnership. It's not like one person doing, you know, more for the other. So don't be afraid to negotiate. Don't be afraid to, you know, push back and really be firm in like what you need for your brand. The worst thing you hear is how brands honestly can go under selling to retail, because when the fees come and, you know, all of the things that go into actually getting your product into the store, marketing dollars, shipping dollars, like all the things, it could quite honestly be not that profitable. So you have to keep your business hat on and do what's right for your growth and not just want to please the buyer.
Profitable on both sides.
Profitable on both sides.
It should work for all of us, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so one last question before we call up our panelists. But Randall, I remember you saying something like, okay, you as a buyer would have 75, just dozens of vendors. What are some of the most common things, and both of you please answer, but that you would see from brands who were not ready? Like, was it mainly the packaging? Was it mainly
It was
shipping,
mainly
et
the
cetera?
packaging and inventory positioning. I think that was usually the challenge, especially if it's making it hand batch in your house. You're like, I have my KitchenAid and I'm doing 15 batches or whatever, but you know, depending on what kind of store you're going after and how many stores they have to supply and how they pick and package, I think those are the things, like the logistics piece can definitely be the challenge.
No, she got it.
She got
I
it
nailed
in.
She
Guys,
nailed
that never
it.
happens. JK.
Okay, well, hopefully that was like a quick little, I guess, teaser to what we'll get into now. And we're gonna call up all of our lovely panelists, a group of just accomplished, and I was doing my research, y'all. They are accomplished and intelligent and game-changing women. So let's have them up now. Okay. Everybody's quiet, but guess what? I'm not shy, and I know y'all aren't shy. So we're gonna first kick it off with introductions. Please introduce yourself and your company. And at times during the panel, I might address a question to Megan specifically, but I encourage, if you have a comment, please follow up and piggyback. Okay.
Guess I'll start. Hello, everybody. My name is Megan Lim. I am a buyer at Credo Beauty, which is the planet's largest clean beauty retailer. Super happy to be here.
Hello everyone, my name is Montre Moore. I am a native of Los Angeles, shout out. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Amp Beauty LA, a digital retailer making shopping discovery easy for all textures and all shades.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Hicks. I am a co-founder and partner at Fayetteville Road Research. We research experiences in the consumer beauty space to build better custom solutions for women of color.
Hi everybody, my name is Celeste Netto and I am a senior account executive at Amazon, part of a program called the Black Business Accelerator, might refer to it as BBA, and we basically empower Black-owned businesses to kind of grow, and we also want to create space for Black-owned businesses.
Hi, I forgot my name tag, but I'm Jessie Holthouse. I'm the VP of e-commerce at About Face Beauty. We have an amazing display in the middle if you guys haven't seen it. But we just launched in January. We're a brand that's co-founded by Halsey, you may or may not know. But we really strive to kind of stand on our own in our offering to the market as a multidisciplinary makeup product for what we call the all of you. So every individual in every way, kind of the many facets of yourself.
And I realized that I did not introduce myself, but hello, my name is Jacoby Junius. I am actually the founder and host of the By Name Beauty podcast, and I was invited by Shantae and Randall to host this lovely panel and moderate. Okay, so first question, icebreaker. If you could describe the beauty industry, and this is for everyone, in one word, what would it be?
I can go, I think it's antiquated.
She starts with something big.
Spicy, we like it. Anyone else?
I'd say opportunity. There's so much opportunity to continue growing in this space. There's so much opportunity for product. There's so much opportunity for more people who haven't been heard in this space, and so that's the word I would use.
I think I would have to go with unpredictable, because it's changing really quickly and you really never know what's right around the corner for this space.
I would choose cultural. I think that's futuristic and optimistic. I like the idea that we are becoming more all-encompassing of cultures that have been underrepresented in the beauty world.
This is 2 words, but I would say forward-looking. I think we've come a long way with kind of the establishment running the beauty industry, and we're seeing more and more newness and youth enter the market. I think for the first time in a long time, we're all looking at what the future is as opposed to looking at how things have been run in the past.
Okay, so we got a lot of different responses, but I want to stick on that frame of like futuristic and looking forward. Jessie, how do you feel like the industry has changed throughout your tenure?
I started however many years ago, not to age myself, but I started at MAC Cosmetics. That was my first kind of in-house role. At that time, people were just coming out of that idea that like one company, or you could be with one brand completely loyal across category. Like you were a MAC girl and that was that, or whatever you were. So I think the first thing is, since then, there's been so much competition in the market that companies have to pivot. You are no longer a loyalist to one thing because there's just too many people who are changing the game at this point. I think time to market has been a big change. You used to have to plan maybe at least 3 years out. Now you have smaller companies who own their factories, and so they can pivot a lot quicker and get things to market quicker. And so you're putting those big guys like really on their heels by having that flexibility. I guess I would also say just who's serving who. Brands are now forced to serve the consumer, see what the consumer wants and offer that, where before a brand was telling you how they wanted you to be, what you were supposed to look like, what the trend was. The brand was dictating the trend and you were following. And that's not the way anymore. It's like, as consumers, we're forcing brands to create for us as opposed to the other way around.
Yes. At About Face Beauty, how are you like nurturing that kind of ecosystem that you spoke about, like where you are listening to the consumer and they're sharing with you what they want and kind of driving the trends? Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned at the top, we are really new. We launched in January, and in full transparency, when I started interviewing here, I had not heard of AF. They were 6 months old, and I kind of did a little research on, their socials and on their site, and kind of thought I had pegged them for what I thought they were to be. When I spoke with our co-founder, our CEO, our COO, it was honestly the first time that I think I went to a brand where the product didn't call me, the people did. Like before, you'd be like, oh, where do you want to work? And be like, oh, I would MAC. I really want to work for MAC. I didn't know anybody at MAC, but I knew I liked the product. This was, I knew nothing about Face, but how kind of they spoke about the ethos of this company and making a product that we weren't dictating to the market. And they were also passionate about that. And when they launched, it was a 50 model shoot. Like it wasn't like we need a light, medium, and a dark skin. It was 50 models. It was, this is what we're always gonna be. The budget just has to allow for it. We're going to also allow for not just like the diversity that we see in the world, but as people, we don't want to dictate to anyone how they should use a product. Like a how-to is a how-to. That's not going to change. But they were just so steadfast, I think, in like what the belief they had and Halsey had. She is a partner in this and a co-founder. For like, we need to represent who this customer is, and we are giving the tools and they're creating. And nobody's perfect, and we will never try to be that. That was huge to me, and they they only wanted people who they could see that would drive that line. Sorry to kind of answer your question in a backwards way. I think the images that we put out daily, that's like what the consumer is going to see the most of, especially if Ashley has any hand in it. So we have to make sure that we're always representing properly. And then just the teaching aspect of it is like, you're your own creator. We're going to showcase you regardless. It may look messy on you. You don't have to be a makeup artist. Like, you could be wearing this for the first time and it looks crazy. Like, that's cool with us. Like, we will showcase you and hold you up as we would anybody else. So yeah, I mean, we're growing. We always are going to have work to do, but I think those kind of two main things really brought me in. And I think in the short time that I've been here, we do a really good job of it.
So I'm listening to you speak, and what I really heard was people, putting people first.
Yeah.
And I guess this question is open to everyone, but like, how do you continue to put the people first in your companies and your brands? Because all of the companies that we work with make amazing product, especially if you're a buyer. Like, the product is there, or at least it is now, but how do we continue to put the consumer first?
I'll jump in. So particularly with our agency, because we are focused on research, we're really looking at the motivations for women of color, how they're shopping, their consumer behaviors, and the things that are important to them as they're making decisions, whether it's in store, online, who their influence is, whether it's groups where they self-identify, or it could be social media, YouTube, Instagram. And so for us, it really goes back to what Shantae and Randall mentioned about understanding who your customer is, knowing the research, knowing the data. And what I've seen in this current market is that a lot of brands, as they're trying to pivot, they don't really know who they're selling their product to. They're just creating product in an arbitrary space. They may have archetypes that are very loosely based on, an aspirational idea of who their customer is. But they have no idea what's bringing her into the store. They have no idea why she wants to purchase that product. And women of color specifically are very discriminating customers. They're very skeptical customers, and they don't want diversity marketed to them. They're just looking for products that solve the issues that impact them. And so I think when I think about putting people first, it's really understanding who she is, understanding what she wants, and then having the research, the data, the analysis, and the consumer insights to back that up.
Someone look like they wanted to jump in?
Yeah, definitely. So I think BLA, our entire obsession is our customer base. To Brittany's point, we focused initially on our launch, interviewing 250 people and really taking a deep dive into those survey results and figuring out what our customer wanted in an inclusive beauty space for all textures and all shades. And through that research, we found out, the consumers of color are power spenders in the beauty space, and it dominates and doubles what other demographics are spending. So it was really insightful to have just that foundation of knowing what our customer wants. And I'm pretty sure, hopefully some of you have received our surveys. We send them out pretty frequently and often to try to, gauge, are we doing this right? Help us improve. Like, we're always listening to figure out what the newest trends are, what do we want, what brands are trending, which categories are increasing in their scale, and just our customers are everything. So we double down and we invest. And if a customer says, hey, like, your color category sucks, which is probably one of the weakest categories right now, we're like, hey, let's talk to AJ Crimson, let's talk to these powerhouses, Minted Cosmetics in this space that have been dominated or have been marginalized by legacy and heritage brands for years, and finally providing a platform to help amplify that. So it's kind of a twofold for us, where we're listening to our customers and also providing resources to brand founders that have been marginalized by heritage and legacy brands.
So you said something interesting that I want to piggyback on, which is that women of color, specifically Black women, do overspend in this category. So my next question will be for Celeste specifically, because you are the Senior Account Executive for the Amazon Black Business Accelerator, the BBA.
Yes.
So could you share a little bit about how you get these brands seen and elevate them on the platform, because they are there, the customer is there, she's ready to shop, but how do we give them the platform to do that?
I would love to, yes. So I think the Amazon Black Business Accelerator, which I might refer to as BBA, is really empowering for the individual entrepreneur and brand owner. And we really want people to have the opportunity to tell their story. And you're almost rewarded, in my opinion, for being unique and telling more of your story in your Amazon brand store. The more content that you have to educate the customer, the imagery that paints your brand story and who you are helps us then partner with other teams and say, let's take a look at these products. These are brand owners and entrepreneurs that are in BBA. Let's get them visibility. They have viable inventory, and they're really excited to go to retail. And so I think that there's this notion that, you get onto Amazon and it's this huge ecosystem, which it is, but kind of being part of BBA, there's a one-to-one relationship you have with an account representative at Amazon, and we really try to be an advocate. Like, we're a lot of passionate, like-minded people that want to create space for Black-owned businesses and get people live onto Amazon, not just to get you live, but we want to see people become successful.
Megan, I'm curious if you could share anything about how Credo is helping in this space as well.
Absolutely. So there is a program that we have. It's called Credo for Change, and it's something we love talking about, and something we're really proud of. So how it was born is that we are a founder-led company. We were founded by the late and amazing Shashi Batra and our current co-founder, Annie Jackson. And being a founder-led company, it's so hard. We know firsthand how hard it is to build a business and bootstrap it. And I think in 2020, there was really a reckoning, right? And we took a good, long, hard look at ourselves, and we realized and recognized that there needs to be more BIPOC brands, absolutely. Not only just in beauty, but within the clean space. And I think what we wanted to do is figure out why. Why is this happening, and what can we do to help fix that? And so we realized that, especially within the clean beauty sector, it's very difficult. I mean, Jesse, I'm sure you know with About Face, but you have to really look at so many different things, from ingredients to sourcing to ethics to sustainable packaging, and a lot of BIPOC brands don't have the accessibility to the thought leaders and thought partners that are providing these valuable business insights. And so we recognized that, and what we did is we started Credo for Change, which is a 5-month program, and we accept BIPOC businesses at all different stages. We just ask that they're in clean beauty, and we take them through weekly workshops. So we talk about everything from financials to marketing to legal to wholesale. We talk about ingredients 101, sustainable packaging, and we give them our contacts. We give them contacts for recommended suppliers, manufacturers. So it's a really, really comprehensive program. And at the very end, this is actually really new for us, our 13 brands are going to be able to pitch to our investors for funding. And that's something that, we got feedback from last year from our cohort, and they said, we appreciate the opportunity to talk with retail brands for partnerships, but we really need the funding. And that is what we decided to deliver this time.
That's awesome.
Amazing. So for funding, my next question is for Montre. As you have a brand new brand that was started in the pandemic, and we know that you have been killing it in terms of funding, and Black women-owned brands receive such a small percentage of funding. Could you share with us a little bit about how you navigated that journey?
Yes, it's been a very enlightening experience, I can say. To your point, 0.0008% of Black women receive VC funding. So it's just first an honor and privilege to be in this space and be a part of women who have access and resources. And it's even more amazing, we have 2 Black women on our cap table, Arlen Hamilton from Backstage Capital and Arian Simone from Fearless Fund. And it's just a huge honor and privilege. I love money, but money doesn't make me. Money doesn't make me. I love to make money, and that's something Floyd Mayweather, random. I don't know why that quote just came to my head, but shout out to Floyd. And another great quote, just as far as what helped me through my funding journey, Arlen Hamilton was our first yes, and that yes, just empowered us, gave us the confidence, not only just like on a monetary level, but just being able to like have someone to believe in you goes beyond any dollar amount, honestly. And I think just leveraging that and focusing on like your why and your end game. And I remember one time she told me, she's just like, be the money, and I really carry that with me. It's about, tapping into your resources, tapping into your skill sets. What podcasts are you listening to? What books are you into? What networks? Have you connected with Shantae? Have you connected with Randall? Like each experience should bring value to you. And that is one of like the lingering advice that I kind of like, how can I make value and how can I add value to someone? Because at the end of the day, then they're connecting with you and you're the money. So if you're the money, people are gonna gravitate to that space. So funding, it's a journey. I'm not gonna say it's easy. Shout out to Credo and what you guys are doing, providing access to space. I think there needs to be more opportunities like that. But just network and be the money. That's my advice that Arlen is so adequately,
And then passing it on to us. Okay, so without giving, I just want to follow up a little bit. Without giving too detailed of an answer, but I just want some of the brands to have like some practical advice. Are there any prerequisites that these brands may need before they start on this VC venture?
Yes, a pitch deck. So like I wouldn't go too crazy on a pitch deck, but just make sure you're able to articulate your funding journey and your brand story. Like you can have like 3 slides, but like if you're storytelling to a VC versus storytelling to a brand, you just have to know your audience. And I would definitely start there. Like, and grant applications, honestly, they're so annoying, but like you really are able to dive deep into your business and figure out, hey, this is a question like maybe it was asked to me one way, but the way they framed it makes me think about my business slightly differently. So like start a Google Doc, save those grant responses, and like really dive into them and have thoughtful responses, because those answers VCs are going to ask you, and then you're able to figure out, okay, well I won this grant and I had these responses, so this answer is something that resonates with VCs or people who can write checks. So that is my advice.
Is there anybody who told you no, who made you like either want to go harder or taught you more about your business? I was listening to a very new brand, and they were saying how some venture capitalists just didn't get their brand, and that was okay, and they transitioned from there.
Oh yes. I was just talking to Brittany about this in the back, in the green area. So there was one VC, black woman as well, so I'm like, we get into the pitch, I'm like, yes, we got somebody on our team, right? Like, she's gonna rally for us, and then like her feedback was just very harsh, and she was just like, well, you'll never be a Sephora, like, you can't figure out that supply chain, and I'm just like I was really just off, like, I was just blown away that was her response, but like, it did, to your point. It made me like, okay, I'm gonna Google supply chain and I'm gonna YouTube this and I'm gonna figure it out, because no way you're gonna tell me that I don't have an opportunity in this space. So it was hard to take that feedback and advice, and maybe that was her way of like, hey, you need to look into it, that area of your business. So I just used that, and like I did my research and I figured out, okay, what supply chain is Sephora using? What supply chain is Credo using? And how can we compete with the Amazons and raise our level of expectations?
Yes. Made you more tenacious.
Yes,
than you
absolutely.
already are. Does anybody else want to share, like, because I feel like we, each of us, we're trying to do the work to make this space more diverse, more inclusive. Celeste, I know you and I were speaking like prior to the panel, but how sometimes you do get no's, Does anyone want to share a no that they have had in their quest to make this space more diverse and inclusive?
I wouldn't put anybody on blast, but I think that starting at MAC was such an eye-opener for me, because growing up, I grew up in the Midwest. I was not a makeup girl. Like, I don't even think it was allowed in my house. So it was not on my radar. I moved to New York. I went to college. I started at MAC. And they were so passionate about their mission, like, for this space to be for everybody, that it really kind of sparked what the issue was in my mind that I honestly had no idea about before. I wasn't in this space whatsoever. from then, leaving there, I felt like I would never go to a brand that was kind of like towing the status quo. Because why now, seeing like what this could be and what everybody was working towards, why go somewhere that didn't want to shake the table a bit? But there were definitely places that I had been to and stepped in where, you know, from an outsider's perspective, they're portraying a certain vibe of the brand, but inside, it's a lot of pushback. And you mostly get no's about changing anything in any way because of money, right? It's like, we can't do this, it costs too much, or there's not gonna be a market for that. And I think just depending on where you are, which really comes back to the people, honestly, like you can have the best, most popular brand out there that's making a ton of money, but if the people on the inside don't believe. And so just for me personally, other great places that I've worked, I went to Pat McGrath after Mac. She was an amazing person to work for. She definitely is pushing her own boundaries. It was more of like, if you are at a place, and as anyone in this room, like we're all talented, we all have our value, but if you're in a company and doesn't matter the name of that company, if they're not gonna do the work, you can't allow yourself to stay, because you will get looped in with that. Your reputation will be with the vendors, with the partners, with the content creators who are undercut. You're now a part of that legacy. So I have gotten my nose in many ways, but for me personally, my advice, like you gotta leave. You can't attach yourself to anything like that, no matter how big it seems on the outside.
I think a no that I would like to speak to is timing. Like, you can get a no one day, but maybe revisit that exact same opportunity in question. And I think it's so important to do that, because a no 3 months ago is a yes today at Amazon in our Black Business Accelerator. I mean, it has been in the works for over a year. It's had its yeses, it's had its no's, and there's definitely been an evolution. We went public on June 15th of this year, and there are so many more yeses that we've gotten that we weren't getting when we were forming a program. And I'm really excited to see those yeses continuing to roll through. We have grant opportunities in partnership with Hello Alice. You know, that has had so much evolution, and I think that's the direction we're moving in. And so I would just say that when it comes to no's, it's a no in the moment, it's a no, but it's not forever a no. And I think that's a really great mindset that the BBA program has embodied.
Okay. I would say for me, no has been a really big part of my career journey, just as a woman working in tech, and then a woman in tech working in fashion and beauty. And so when I think about hearing those, it again always takes me back to the data and the research. People can argue with you about your experience. They can try to tell you that what you're working on is not important. People cannot argue with numbers. People may not mind being racist. They may not mind being sexist. They really don't like not making money though. So when you can present that information to people and show them why what you're doing is important, and why, to Montre's point, women of color outspend their counterparts by 9x on skincare, hair care, and beauty. That's like a huge number, and that's a huge differential when you're talking to someone who's in venture capital. And they may not understand why women want to part with so much money to lay their edges down. They don't have that experience because that's not their day-to-day life. But when you can show them with the numbers and the data that this is why this is important, this is why you need to invest or separate with your dollars to invest in this demographic, then I think that changes the conversation and it changes the narrative around who you're talking to and what you're trying to build and grow. And so for me, I think that's been a really huge part in motivation of what we've tried to uncover for retailers when they are trying to convince their leadership teams, right, to invest in these specific initiatives or categories or areas, because I mean, it's really going to shape the way that beauty looks moving forward.
I love what each of you all said, and it's funny because before the panel I was telling Celeste, people might not care, but you show them the numbers and you show them how much Black women spend, and then all of a sudden they're on board, they're ready. Like, how can we make this an entire strategy for our company? And it's crazy how things can change in a year's time or a few months' time. So this is more of a broad question, but I always like to say that we need to rethink the map in beauty. Like, how we've done things is just not how we should be doing them now, i.e. antiquated. So is there anything that you all are just looking forward to still see shift or happen in the industry?
I think a big thing that we just need to do internally is hire more people who are like fresh into the field, because so many times you're at a company, they need to, you know, accelerate growth or get off the ground, and they're only looking for a very specific type of person, a seasoned vet, somebody who's proven themselves, and that, you know, is a dangerous place to be. I mean, it's amazing, but there are so many people who are trying to break into the world of beauty, especially from a corporate level, and they bring so many fresh ideas and, you know, huge moments for change. I think that we need to be more accepting of bringing people in and mentoring them and getting them to be the person that we wish we had at first hire, because we can't always go, you know, that same route. So I think just like the ability to mentor and bring on people who will, you know, really spark change.
I would say that I think I'm really excited in this industry for the need for transparency. And I think that has been something that our consumers have been asking for more and more, whereas in the past it was just accepted, you know, this is the product you should buy, this is what all the information we have for you. And I think not only are people demanding and hungry for either education, hungry for learning what your values are as a company, but they really, really want to hold you accountable. And that can be a good thing, and it can be painful from the brand side, right? Because, you know, hearing feedback is hard, but that's how you grow. And I think the transparency, not only in holding the businesses accountable, but transparency also within the beauty industry. We were talking about this, transparency in accepting your flaws, and not even flaws, like changing the wording around, you know, the words flaws, covering up, you know, things like that. I love how people are feeling more empowered to show like their acne. I've been seeing that so much more, their stretch marks, and I think there's so much to see in terms of self-acceptance, so much to see in terms of transparency and like being free to be yourself, but also asking for what you want. And so I think that there's just a lot of opportunity and just a lot more to go in that aspect.
There's a complete shift happening, and we were speaking about this. It's no longer what needs to be fixed. You know, it's embracing who you are and self-expression and authenticity. Yes. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think being more mission-driven, I would love to see more of that. I think a lot of brands are stepping into that place of like Amp Beauty LA in particular, you know, amplifying Black beauty. There's a couple brands we have, Soap Distillery, where their packaging is biodegradable. So just putting your mission forward and standing on that foundation and, you know, using your platform to amplify, whether it's sustainability or being eco-cert or, you know, your love for the planet, or, you know, just being authentic and loving your curves and your blemishes. Like, it's all love, and I just want to see more brands in the space, like honing in on their mission and what impact are you making in this world that we have to leave to, you know, future generations.
So I want to pivot a little bit to a conversation with technology, because it's continuing to evolve and innovate, and we're seeing it impact this space. What are some of the learnings that you all have found, and how do you think that it will continue to drive the industry forward?
So, go ahead. So we do pride ourselves on being a tech-forward retailer. We invest in our customers and providing a unique experience for them, and what that means for us is creating a beauty tech ecosystem where users can have virtual makeup try-ons, chat with a beauty expert, or even book a virtual skin consultation. We were just recently accepted into the Snapchat bootcamp, and I'm learning so much about AR, VR, camera lenses, camera kits, and just seeing how, again, another space where consumers of color have been left out of the algorithm of, you know, virtual. and being in the forefront of that and making sure there is still a space for us, when that time comes. And like the emergence of technology is huge. It's going, billions and billions of dollars. So again, we celebrate our customers through self-expression, personalization, and really making sure that self-expression and personalization is in the key of like our beauty tech features. And it's going to be huge, down to virtual realities and virtual try-ins. So we're super excited. Q1 of 2022, hopefully we'll have new exciting features for you all to try.
That's very exciting. I think for me, as I look past COVID and the current climate that we're in now, as we see more and more consumers going into stores and retailers recognizing they need to give them a reason to go into stores, because for the last 18 months, we've all figured out how to purchase our products online. I'm excited to see technology integration happen in a way that enhances our experience. I think we've seen a lot of like performative technology happen where it's like some arbitrary like thing in the middle of the sales floor that doesn't really facilitate sales. It doesn't help me make a decision. It doesn't educate me or give me any additional information on what I'm looking for as a consumer. It's kind of like gimmicky. I think that we're on the other side of that, hopefully, where we'll have low-lift technology and then everything in between that can really help facilitate the customer journey, but to Montre's point, be more inclusive, because for a long time, women of color have been left out of those experiences for all the reasons that she's mentioned. And I think retailers are really taking seriously the call to action to be inclusive, not just with the technology, not just with their marketing, but also with their assortment now. And I think before 2020, we were really just looking at marketing diversity to people and like throwing a black girl in the corner, or adding somebody that has an afro like in the lifestyle shot. But that falls flat when I get into your store experience and you don't have any products for me. So when I think about technology and how we're moving forward and what that can look like, our agency is always focused on recommending custom solutions for our clients that can really help them facilitate a better experience. And when you do that well, the technology should become invisible to the customer. And so for me, I'm excited to see that as we move forward, and there are a lot of retailers doing some good work in that space.
Yeah. Let's continue on that topic of like building product assortments, because now we have so many, Black-owned, BIPOC-owned brands. Like, there's no reason for the retailers not to be carrying them. I'm curious if any of you all are using unconventional methods to seek out these brands and source them.
I wouldn't say very unconventional, but we, at least for Credo, we definitely employ, the typical methods. So we, of course, have a submissions email, but I think what is really interesting, what we've really honed in on, is that with Credo brands, there's a real community around within each other. So we share knowledge, we share resources, because within this sector, it can be really difficult, and there's just so much innovation that's always happening. And so specifically with our BIPOC-owned brands, a lot of our recommendations actually come from them, because who best to hear about what BIPOC customers need than brand founders themselves. So that's definitely one way. And then another way is, I will say our merchandising team is very social media savvy. So I have definitely stalked some pages and found some people that way, some brand founders that way. But I think that there's definitely a lot of opportunity out there. I think going back a little bit to your technology question and seeing it from the back end and sharing a little bit more about that, is that, of course, a barrier to entry for clean beauty is that with Credo, we have one of the strictest standards. So we ban 2,700 ingredients, and we realize that can be really difficult in terms of how much you're investing into these formulations. If you already have a formulation that has a banned ingredient, and using that money to reformulate and justifying it. So we actually partnered with a platform called Novi, and this platform is amazing. And so they provide actually this entire database of ingredient compliancy. You can actually vet your ingredients against a number of standards from different companies. But with Credo, specifically with our BIPOC founded brands, we allow complimentary access to additional features, as well as all of our existing brands, of course, but I'm talking more about potential brands. And so what happens is that it will tell you if an ingredient isn't compliant, and then it will give you resources to choose an alternative ingredient, as well as suppliers that you could look to. And that's also for sustainable packaging. So we're going to be pushing more in terms of, looking at recycled content, looking at how to recycle a product after it's used, and how we can really improve that way. And so providing a resource and in that, as well as the technology behind that, is really, really cool. It's only been a few months, so of course we're still building it out, but we're very excited about it.
Could you repeat the name of that database? Because that is just absolutely awesome, because that could make the difference for a brand, right? Like especially clean in the industry, it can be an unregulated term. They might not know what that means, but they have a passion for it. And so for them to be able to look at an ingredient and figure out, okay, it doesn't fit the standards, but this is another route I could go that's super important. So could you repeat it?
Yes, it's Novi, N-O-V-I. Amazing team.
I think one thing I would say is maybe it's not unconventional or particularly unique, but at Amazon in the BBA program, we did a lot of social media stalking. I know that's something like a rabbit hole I was really passionate about following, discovering brands. Also, we got into chat rooms, and that was really fun to really get into conversations with brand owners. But now, since June 15th, we have had a public landing page where you can fill out your contact information, and within 7 days, somebody will reach out to you to help you get onto Amazon. And so I think that that's just a really exciting and unique process for Amazon, and also one that is so empowering to, I think, any brand owner at the stage at which they fill out that form. And we also have the mindset of do your multi-channel fulfillment. Like, don't be just with Amazon. We want you to be, getting sales wherever you can. We're not trying to compete. We truly want to create space for Black-owned businesses, and whatever platforms those may be that make each entrepreneur successful, I think is really empowering.
I think at MPDLA we have a really unique position because we are three African American sorority sisters, right? So I don't think anyone knows Black beauty better than us. So we have an extensive network. We tap into. We align two of our top selling brands. Black Girl Sunscreen. Met her actually, Shantae, at a conference, and just literally connected with her on that aspect. And then our second best performing brand is Play Pits by Chantel, and she is actually our Prophyte and older sister. So I think it lends to just being a part of the community and having that network of, like I said previously, people in this space that have been marginalized but dominating at the same time and just not having that voice. So I tap in everywhere I can, Instagram, our network, customer surveys, customer feedback, just networking. Anyone have a Black-owned beauty brand that they want to pitch? Like, we're always open. Our DMs are open, our emails are open, and we just really love the feedback and response. And we're always doing our research. So who's out there getting it? One of our other brands, Flaunt Body, they were just a part of this pitch competition that won. So it's just, realizing that space and connecting with them and, saying, who do you recommend? To Megan's point, it's the brand founders that actually are the best advocates to onboarding new brands.
So for us, in terms of access to brands and just being connected to the space, which I think you're absolutely right, we manage a community called Women of Color Worldwide. It's our consumer-facing brand to host events. We have access to 50,000 women within that ecosystem, and so we leverage that space to host our events, to stand up activations, and to really connect with women and ask them what they're interested in, what they care about, how they want to shop. Last year we hosted a commission study and asked 1,000 women of color, what's in your beauty bag? And they told us. And so I think, again, going back to that idea of just connecting with your customer, being a part of that community, asking them what they want to see. A lot of retailers, I think, are afraid to do that, which we talked about earlier, because of the issues with privacy and customers just wanting to be more comfortable. But I think when you are creating spaces for her that feel comfortable, they feel native to her experience, you'll be surprised at how much information your consumer will share with you if you just start that dialogue with her.
Okay, as we start to wrap up this panel, I'm going to ask a broad question, but if you could give any advice to emerging brands and or a retailer who might be here to make the industry more inclusive, could you share a little bit about that?
I can start. I would say taking one step at a time is so important. You don't have to bite off everything at once. There are so many levers and tools to become successful, whether it's on Amazon or just in general as an entrepreneur. And so not trying to bite off everything you can chew at one moment in time, I think is so important. And just one step at a time. I think the analogy I'll make will be Amazon related because I know that best. And first you want to register your business, then you want to get one listing live. That's just at least one unit of viable inventory. You can create more listings, you can add inventory. You can sign up for brand registry, which is a program that unlocks these really great SEO optimization benefits like adding video content, A+ content is what we call it, and also using Amazon's fulfillment. You set your pricing, you are in control of so much, you maintain integrity to your business, and just taking it one step at a time I think is so important. You don't have to adopt every single Amazon lever for every listing. You can have some items that you fulfill yourself, you can fulfill some by Amazon, and I think really testing and learning. You can always take back a decision like fulfilling by Amazon. You can say, I don't like that, I want to fulfill myself. And I think that's the fun part, and the independence that you get is being able to go at the pace that you would like for your business and for each individual listing, and just kind of take it one step at a time.
I think the advice, for an emerging beauty brand, it would just be like execute and make sure you're as true to who you are and show authenticity in your space, because the more authentic you are, the more you're gonna gravitate towards like-minded people and be able to celebrate what makes you unique. So definitely there are some key things that we look for as far as an Amp Beauty LA. I have 3 co-founders, Angel, myself, and Felicia, and I think we all bring a unique aspect when it comes to looking at indie or trending brands. Mine is more a brand and ingredient story. I love a good founder story. Like, tell me everything, girl. Like, I want to know, like, how you started in the kitchen and how, like, I'm just very much into that. I'm very much into your ingredient stories. Why did you pair these unique ingredients together? Angel's more customer facing, where she's gonna go straight to your social, and if it's not up to par, you're gonna know. But it's important, and your forward-facing brand or mission and how you present yourself to a brand is super impactful. And then I think Felicia is more on the legal side and the intricacies of like business. So if you send over a wholesale deck and we can't articulate profit margins, that's going to be a huge red flag for us. So in those 3 areas, I think you can grab a little value from each, and I think they're all equally as important.
My advice for emerging brands is think about what purpose you're bringing to the industry, what space you're filling, what void you're filling. It doesn't have to be necessarily a product, but it could be it could be your story, it could be the brand founder. There's always something. So think about what makes your brand stand out from the rest and be able to articulate it, be able to speak to it in a passionate way. I think that further than that as well is thinking about logistics. That's a big one for sure, because that's really the key to working with a retailer. I would also say that, within Credo, when we look at a brand, there could be a brand that has the ingredients, they have the values, but what makes them different? So just think about that and be prepared to speak on it, because we'll know and we'll feel that. And I think a piece of advice I would give you too, if you're talking to a retailer and they're interested, you know, they're not going to lose their interest if you're transparent with them. You say, you know, I took a look, like I don't know if it can happen this year. If they like you, they will wait another year, whatever it is, and they will help you to get there. So don't be afraid to, you know, like bend at the first, you know, offer, whatever it is. Be transparent. It's a partnership. You're going to be working together. So they will be receptive if they believe in you.
I would also say from like the brand side, you know, there's also no shame in having a D2C for a while. You know, your ultimate goal may be retailer, but in the meantime, you can perfect all these things that these ladies are saying if you've got your own site. You know, you can get it to where you want to be. And I think in the D2C space, it is harder because you don't have the amplification of a retailer behind you. So if you wanted to go that route, you just like the tenacity I think that you have to be a brand who's just solely on your site is like, you honestly, you can't really ever stop and you always have to keep going. You're never really there. But I think that's an important thing to note is like, of course the dream is to be in a space, but maybe you're not ready for that yet. And I think there's a lot that can happen in spending some time on your own thing, you know, and getting it right. And when it is right, probably will spark a lot more interest from a retailer or somebody to really help you get to that next step.
The good thing about being D2C is you get to build a community, a
Totally.
true community,
Yeah.
and a loyal following, and the people, like your tribe, you know,
Yeah.
the people who love your brand.
It's a lot to get into retail. And so you want to be ready for that. You know, you have to change a lot, you have to invest a lot. And so knowing what you are and who you are before you take that step, I think especially at the early stages, it can be, I've worked for a lot of startup brands, but it can be very confusing to nail exactly who you are. If you don't know yet and you start to go that retail route, it could throw you off, you know? You want to like be pretty solid before you get there.
I'll add something briefly. Whenever we talk to new or emerging brands, especially when we're vetting brands for our retail clients, we try to focus on three things. So there's the research, there's the retail strategy, and then there's OpEx. And I feel like if you can conquer those three things as a new brand, then you can make more informed decisions about what is right for you. With the research, going back to what I've already said 3 times on this panel, you have to know who your customer is. And that really echoes what you were just speaking to.
Major key.
Yeah, that's the major key, because if not, like, why are we making these products, right? If we don't know what her motivation is for buying them. But that's super important, and just remembering you can be like the skincare expert, you can be like the hair care expert, but she is still the expert on her. So she knows what she wants, she knows what she's looking for, and you don't need to like try to bamboozle her into that. And then when it goes to the retail strategy, this is super important for new brands. I think a lot of times it's very flattering to get interest from a retailer, right? But you can make a lot of missteps early on by partnering with the wrong retailer, going into retail at the wrong time, pricing yourself incorrectly. And these are a lot of the horror stories we unfortunately, you know, hear of 1 year, 2 years, 5 years into a contract with, I won't call anyone out, but fill in the blank. And then when the next opportunity comes along, you have now, you know, made it challenging to cross-promote or double exposure assortment in different places. So I think before you get to that step where you're committing to going into a retailer, making sure that you have a retail strategy and a vision for how you see yourself, not just in that store, but in the entire beauty landscape, because there are opportunities that will inhibit you from other opportunities. And then last but not least, OpEx, it's the hardest part. Don't be afraid to outsource it. It's expensive, but it will make your life easier in the long run.
And I have one small tidbit to Black-owned beauty brands. Please do not sell your exclusivity rights to these major retailers. We need to provide generational wealth and provide legacy for our brands. We run into several brands that have sold their exclusivity rights and they're no longer with that. What that means is they're no longer to partner with like an Beauty LA or like a Credo or, you know, whichever retailer they choose. And I think that's a topic that really doesn't get much, I believe, you know, room or air to talk about, because a lot of brands, larger legacy brands, you know, they approach smaller brands and then they're, you can only sell to that one retailer. So I would like strongly urge against that and to keep your rights and your ownership to your brand.
Both of you said something very key, and some brands actually go out of business that way, not knowing how to scale or pigeonholing in one particular retailer. Yeah. Okay, so very last question, which I just like to keep it fun and exciting, so that's who I am. What's exciting you all about beauty right now? Our very last question, and then we can break out into small groups.
For me, it's Gen Z. Like, I have younger sisters, and they keep me young and youthful, and they're all about, showing your authentic self. I feel like millennials, we were really part of, like, fitting the mold and trying to be this cookie cutter of, like, please accept me. I'm doing, I've checked all these boxes off of the list, and Gen Z is just like, forget your checklist. Like, I am me, and I'm going to amplify that, and I'm here in this space, and you can accept me or not. So Gen Z really excites me. They're mission-driven, they're authentic, they can really care about anyone's opinion. Shout out to my sister Adorin, because she lets me know every day, like, that's very millennial of you to say. Like, I've seen too much pink on your timeline. I'm like, okay, girlfriend, like. So yeah, that's what excites me, Gen Z.
I probably shouldn't say this, but drugstore beauty excites me a lot. Because it used to be, like, I remember I had a job in college where I was somebody's personal assistant. I had to, like, stand in line at the Berg door for this old woman to, like, buy her $50 Chanel eyeliner. But now it's like, you can pull anything out of your bag, and it's totally cool. There's no stigma around, like, you have a $3 elf, whatever. Like, I love that for myself and everyone else. Price does not equal, like, status in beauty anymore.
Freeing for you and your pockets.
Yeah.
I think I'm really intrigued by all the cultural stories that I get to learn about. I'll just take one brand I know, for example, 54 Thrones. It's such a cultural and sentimental story that I just love learning. I follow on Instagram, and there's so much to unpack with every post. Christina Techney does an incredible job of educating on what shea butter is, what it comes from. I think that the additional space we have to create for more cultures and more awareness is very exciting, and that's so empowering. Maybe it's not your story personally, but I have her product and I put it on, and I feel like I get to appreciate a culture and something that maybe I didn't grow up with, but now it's part of my daily routine. And I think that more and more of that is what a lot of the consumer is excited about too. I think just the story that we get from beauty is really exciting.
I think for me, just the breadth of selection that's in the market now, and we're starting to see influence become more authentic. I am a product junkie. I will try anything once. If I see it on social media, YouTube, if somebody tells me it works, I want to see for myself. And so I find that to be really exciting. And I think it's just creating more space in the marketplace for everybody.
This is so not a sexy answer, but sustainability excites me in the industry. And here's why. So, I was completely, and still am, obsessed with makeup and skincare. I'd have bottles and palettes and everything, and I just would never use it, and I would throw it all in the trash. And I don't know about any of you, but I felt a lot of guilt, and I still do. And so I think that sustainability is coming to the forefront of the industry, and people are becoming aware, and they realize, these things are not going to be recycled. It's just going in the trash and staying there for however many years. And I think that we're finally starting to pay attention. We're finally starting to look at refills. We're starting to look at how we can actually reuse certain things or recycle them. So that's what gets me going.
See how we got 5 different answers? Very reflective of the change that's happening now in the beauty industry. All right, thank you everyone. That was our State of the Beauty Industry panel. Did we want to break into small groups, or will we take questions from the audience?
How are we feeling, audience? So we could do a couple things. So maybe if anyone has like a super pressing question for the panel, we can ask it. But we thought it would be really cool to kind of let these women go back out and we can finish networking And if you have questions, you know, about anything they said on the panel, you can ask them specifically and tell them more about your mission, your brands, your businesses, and so we can just keep the whole like I live work vibe going.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.